In this video, we'll be hunting 2 boxes of pennies and seeing how much progress we can make to the Penny Hunt and Fill album. Of course, we'll be looking for any wheat cents from 1958 or older. We'll also be looking for any proofs, foreigns, errors, varieties, or any other cool things we can find. I'm really excited for this hunt because box 2 just have a Canadian ender, but for box number 1, I think we have 4 enders in the whole box. Right here, we have an obverse facing 1958 Philly, and believe it or not, we still don't have a 58 Philly for the album, so that's already an addition, which is an ender. And then you probably already saw it, there's a wheat cent ender pretty close to that. And then in roll number 5, it's a wheat cent ender on the top and a wheat cent ender on the bottom. So this roll number 5, is going to be a double wheat cent ender. So this box could be really good. It could have a lot of wheat cents in it. So I'm really excited to start the box. So let's get into it, and I'll bring you in when we have our first find. First roll, just opened it, and with all the enders and what I see here, I think we're going to have a pretty loaded box because I just opened the first roll. See at least 2 wheat cents. First one I can already see the date. It is 1955 Philly. Of course not the DDO, that's like impossible to find. And then I see a wheat cent reverse right here, and it's going to be 1956 Denver. 250s wheats in the first roll with 4 unders in the box. I'm excited to get into it. Just opened roll 3, and we're going to have another pair of wheat cents in this roll. I see 2 reverses, the first one being right here. It's going to be 1950 Denver. Then the other one is in the back of the roll right here, and it's going to be 1956 Philly. Next roll, roll 4, is going to have a wheat cent and a Canadian. Let's pull the Canadian first. No matter what it is, since I already have it here, it's just 1968, and the wheat cent is right here, and this one looks a little more worn. Hopefully it's before the 40s, and it's not. It's just another 50s, 1952 Denver. Just opened roll 5, which was that wheat cent double ender. I don't know if I've ever had a double ender before this, but here's the first ender right here. It's going to be 1951 Denver. All the wheat cents have been in the 50s so far. And then it looks like we have 2 wheat cents next to each other on the other end. So 3 wheat cents in this roll, 2 were the enders. Another 1950 Denver and 1957 out of Philly. Hopefully we can get some wheat cents from before the 50s sometime soon. Next roll, I think we're going to have a few more wheat cents. I see a couple reverses and then a few obverses that look older as well, such as this one. It is going to be our first wheat cent from the 40s finally, 1946 Philly. This one could be old, no, just the 70s. Here's the next wheat cent, it's reverse facing, 1955 Denver. This is an 80s, 70s. This one, it's another 52 Denver. And then our buying it's 1960, 68. And then here's another wheat cent reverse, probably going to be the last one of the roll. And it's going to be 1958 Philadelphia, same as the ender, and one of those will be filling a spot because we somehow don't have that one. That's 4 wheat cents in that roll. That's awesome. Next roll, and once again, we're going to get a couple more wheat cents. I see a couple of reverses. The first one is right here. It's going to be 1944 Denver, second from the 40s. Now the other one is a darker toned one right here, which is going to be another 1952 Denver. Just opened roll number 10, and we're going to have another pair of wheat cents. I see a couple of wheat ears in the roll. First one I see is here. It's going to be 1945 out of Philly. And the other one is a little further back in the roll right here. And it does look like this one could be a little bit older based on the look. Hopefully it is, and hopefully it fills a spot in the album. And it is going to be older. It's a 1919 out of Philly from the teens, but unfortunately, I know we already have this one. It's a super common year, but it is in decent shape, so maybe it will upgrade, but still, teens wheat cent, that's an awesome find. Next roll, just a few coins in, and I just uncovered another 50s wheat cent, and it is just another 1950 Denver. Next roll once again, and I see the edge of just one more wheat cent, and it is right here, and we're going to have a 1953 San Francisco. Same roll, and we're going to have a couple more wheat cents from the 50s. And this one is that I just uncovered, 1956 Denver. And a few coins later, C, 1957 from Denver. Again, next roll, just uncovered another wheat cent. This one's just going to be a last year, 1958 Denver. Next roll, and the wheat cent streak is going to continue because I see just one more wheat cent reverse near the back of the roll. And it's going to be a 1958 Philly once again. Just opened roll 18, and I see two wheat cents and a Canadian in this roll. Pull out these two first because we have a wheat and a Canadian right next to each other in the back. Canadian's just a 1983, and the wheat cent is 1955 Denver. And then the other wheat cent is right here, and it's going to be a 1953 out of Denver. Roll 20, and we're going to have at least a couple more wheat cents in this roll because I opened the roll and I see a reverse right here for the first wheat cent of the roll, and it's going to be 1953 Denver again. And then I see a 1951 Denver right here, and yep, there's another wheat cent right behind it. 1951 Denver and 1955 Denver. Three more wheat cents from the 50s. Roll 23, just a few coins in. I see another reverse of another wheat cent. Probably going to be in the 50s since the majority of them have been, and it is a 1950 out of Philly this time. Just opened roll 24, and we're going to have a couple wheat cents in this roll. See a couple of wheat cent reverses. The first one is right here, which is going to be a 1956 Denver. And the other one I see is right here. And this one's in pretty good shape, probably going to be in the 50s, and it is just a 1957 Denver. Just opened roll 29, and I see the edge of yet another wheat cent right here. And this time we're going to have a 1942 Philly. Next roll, and we're going to have yet another wheat cent. This one is near the beginning of the roll, and it is a 1953 Denver. Same roll, and I just uncovered another wheat cent, of course from the 50s. Most of them have been so far, and it is 1956 out of Philly. Roll 34, and the box definitely seems like it's been cooling down from its hot start, but I did just uncover another wheat cent. It's in pretty rough shape. I can see it's a 1951, probably with a mint mark, probably a Denver, but it's in pretty rough shape, but still, it's another wheat cent. Did just wipe away some of the gunk on that wheat cent I just found, and it turns out to be a 1951 San Francisco, and it's in terrible shape, but we don't have a 51S for the album, so even though it's in terrible shape, it's still a good find. Next roll, and I know I just said the box seemed like it was cooling down, but I just opened the roll, and I see the reverses of 4 wheat cents, I think, so that's awesome. One away from being an ender is the first one. It's pretty damaged, but it is 1956 Denver. Then the next one is going to be later in the roll right here. And it's going to be 1953 out of Denver once again. Then a few coins after that, yet another one, 1956 Denver. And the last one back here is going to be a 1955 out of Denver. 4 more 50s wheat cents in the roll. That's awesome. Roll 37 was another one of the wheat cent enders, and there's going to be at least one more in the roll with it. We'll get the ender first right here. It's going to be another 1953 Denver. And then I see the date of another one a little bit later in the roll, and it's another 1957 out of Denver. Roll 40, and we have another wheat cent, although this one is just another 1958 Denver. Just opened roll 44, and I see the edge of one more wheat cent. This one is in the back of the roll, and it's going to be, one from the 30s. Awesome. It's a 1938 out of Philly. Pretty sure we already have this one, but still, that's our second pre-40s wheat cent, and that's an awesome find. Roll 46 was the last wheat cent ender. Don't see anything else in the roll, and it was that 1958 out of Philly. Next roll, just uncovered another wheat cent. This one is another 1958, but this one is a Denver. Just open the next roll, and one away from being an ender, we have yet another wheat cent. Probably going to be in the 50s because the majority of them have been, and it is another 1957 Denver. Just open the last roll, and the box is definitely going to end on a high note because I see two wheat cents pretty close to each other. Pull up this one first, and it's going to be 1946 Denver, and a couple coins later, there's the other one, which is 1958 out of Denver. It's a great way to end the box. That was all for box number 1, and it was a great box. The collection dump I had a couple videos ago is definitely better, but still, I can't complain. We ended up with 47 wheat cents for the box. Most of them were actually in the 50s. The majority of them were by far. We only had, I believe, 5 in the 40s, and then 1 in the 30s, and 1 in the teens, which is awesome. Only 5 Canadians to the box. I've noticed I've been getting less and less Canadians recently, but that's alright. They're just Canadians. Just something interesting I've noticed. So definitely a great box. Tons of 50s wheat cents, and I believe 2 additions to the album. Now let's go on to box number 2, and hopefully we can get some good finds. Roll number 10, and box number 2 still has not produced a wheat cent, but I just opened this roll, and I see the edge of a King George Canadian. I'll see more modern Canadian front. Might as well pull it out since I have it here. It's a 1984. Then the King George is right here. Definitely not in the best shape. A little discolored, but I'll still take it. And it is a 1950. King George Canadians, not too common of a sight to see. Roll 11, and we're finally going to have the first wheat cent of box 2. You can see the reverse of it right here near the middle of the roll. And it's going to be from the 30s. It's a 1939 on a Philly. Decent shape besides the gunk on it. Don't need it for the album, but definitely I'll take a 1930s wheat cent. Roll 14. Just open the roll, and I see the edge of wheat cent number 2, and I can already see the date. It is 1941 Denver. Roll 19, and we're going to have another wheat cent for box 2, and it's another one from the 30s. It's one away from being an ender, and it is a 1937 Philly. Again, we don't need it for the album, but I'll still take any 30s wheat cent I can get. Just opened roll 23, and we're going to have wheat cent number 4 for box 2 right here, and it's going to be a 1944 Denver. Just opened roll 24, and we're not going to have a wheat cent in this roll, but I open the roll, and I see what looks to be a nice young head Canadian cent right here. Yeah, it's in pretty good shape. Hopefully it's not a 64, but it probably will be. And it's not a 64, but it is a 1963. Still, that's in really nice shape. Maybe we'll upgrade my Canadian album. Roll 29, and we have another wheat cent for box 2. Just uncovered it, and it is a 1946 Philadelphia. Roll 38, and I just uncovered another wheat cent. And this one, I don't know how I missed it by the edge, but I did. And it does look like it has the look of an older one, and hopefully it is. Oh my gosh, I was right. That's a 1910, and it's in pretty decent shape too. That's a really nice 1910. That's going to be the oldest wheat cent in the album. That's definitely going to fill a spot. Wow, I can't believe we just found that. Roll 34, and I'm bringing you in because I just uncovered another wheat cent. But first, I just want to show off the details of that 1910 we just found. Usually when you find a wheat cent this early in the teens, it's completely slick. There's almost no detail left, but this one's actually pretty nice. There's a lot of detail left on Lincoln's hair, and I'd say if this got graded, it would probably come back a VF 20 to 30 or something in that range. It's pretty nice. Usually they're in like G4, AG3. And most of the detail is left on the wheat stalks as well. This is in really nice shape for being in 1910. Even if it was slick, I'd still be happy, but I'd say this is definitely the best find of the hunt so far. Anyways, I bring you in because I just uncovered another wheat cent. This one is just 1940 out of Philly. Roll 47, and the box isn't done yet. I just opened the roll. We have a pretty nice wheat cent edge right there. Looks like it has most of the red luster left. Probably going to be in the 50s, but this nice wheat cent might upgrade the album. Wow, it's not from the 50s. A 1947 Denver, I can say for sure that's going to upgrade the one we have. The one we have is probably just a brown. It's super hard to find any pre-50s with this much luster left. With that 1910 and this nice 47 Denver, this box is definitely ending on a high note. Next roll, and the streak of good finds at the end of the box is going to continue because I just opened the roll. We have a wheat cent there and a Canadian cent a little bit behind it. Let's pull the Canadian first. It's just a 1978. And then the wheat cent is right here, and it's going to be a 1956 Denver. Roll 49, and this box still isn't done yet because it's uncovered yet another wheat cent. This end of the box is definitely the best part by far, and it is a 1950 Denver. Both penny boxes have been hunted, so let's go over the finds. We ended up with 9 1959s, 21 Esmonts, and 32 2009s. Canadians, we ended up with 6, with 2 of them being older. First, a really nice 1963 Younghead, as well as a 1950 King George VI. Great find, even though it's pretty beat up. And then, of course, the wheat cents, super well. The first box definitely had the better quantity. It had 47, but 40 of them were in the 50s, all these common 50s here. But still, 47 wheat cents in a box is awesome. And then box number 2 ended up with 10 wheat cents, and that box had the quality. We got 10, including this really nice 1947 Denver, which will definitely upgrade the album, as well as we did get a few pre-40s throughout the hunt. 1939, 38, and 37, all from Philly. Don't need any of those for the album, but still great to see wheat cents from the 30s. And then 2 finds from the teens, a 1919 and a 1910. That 1910 was definitely the best find of the hunt. And both of those teens' wheat cents are actually in pretty decent shape, so they might upgrade the album. Well, the 1910 is going to be an addition, of course. And then lastly, for copper, pretty much almost filled the copper jar, which is definitely good for 2 boxes, about what I like to see. So this was definitely an awesome hunt. Tons of wheat cents, good amount of copper, lots of other side finds. So now let's take the finds and compare them to the Penny Hunt and Fill album and see how much progress we'd made. Just finished updating the Penny Hunt and Fill album, and here's a look at the album now. We ended up with 3 upgrades and 3 additions, all on the wheat cents. The additions were in order. First, of course, we got the 1958 Philly, which we somehow didn't have yet, and we ended up getting actually 3 of those this hunt, which is pretty interesting. Then we also added the 1951S, even though it's in terrible shape, it's still an addition. Hopefully we'll be able to upgrade that one later on in the series. And the other addition, of course, we added that 1910, 147 million minted, but still it's pretty rare to find a wheat penny that old. It's an awesome find. And then we also had 3 upgrades as well, which were the 1956 Philly, the 1950 out of Philly, and the 1944 Denver. And then one other upgrade I forgot about, we also upgraded the 1919 out of Philly. Definitely better detailed than the slick one that was in there. So 3 additions and 3 upgrades in the wheat cents for this hunt. This was definitely an awesome hunt, and we got a lot of wheats as well, added a lot of wheats to the collection, and added some to the album. This was an awesome Penny Hunt and Fill series episode.